is called the apical meristem. That's actually where cell division and growth is taking place as the shoot grows. Now, one of the ways we can tell that the plant has enough water just by looking at it are the tendrils. You see? Hi, and welcome back to 1 Acre in the Napa Valley here in the Yountville AVA for episode number 12. It's our fruit set and berry set episode. Now, as you can see, the amount of growth that has taken place here in the vineyard has just transformed the vineyard from what we saw the last time. Some of the shoots, like this one, this has probably grown almost 3 or 3.5 feet. And given the period of time that it's been since we've been together, today being June the 1st, this has probably grown almost a ½ an inch a day, which is really amazing. Now, not all the plants have grown that strongly, but it's been a very good growth season so far. Now, if you recall, we looked at 2 different vines when we were together last. One, we were looking at a cordon type of pruning, and the other was actually a spur and cane pruning. So let's go back and have a look at each of those, see how they're doing, and we can compare one to the other. So here's the first little vine that we've been following along from the beginning. We can see how it's doing and how it's progressing along. It's actually doing quite well. We can see that the shoots are growing very strong, and we have almost 2 stages of berry development. Now, we're right at the end of bloom. Bloom is really over and fruit set is taking place. And if we look at this first one here, I'll kind of put my hand behind it, you can see the little berries beginning to develop, and you might also be able to see the little remnants of the flower clusters that are just a little bit in the brown color there. This is truly the origin of the wine that we're going to be making. Now, if we look up a little bit further here, we can see another cluster that's just a little bit further along. You can see the berries are beginning to enlarge and develop a little bit more significantly. So it's doing well. Of course, there's other fruit on the other side. And this was what we were going to develop into a spur and cane pruning. Now, something else I'd like to show you as far as the actual health and hydration of the vine itself, we're looking at here the tip of the shoot. And this point right here, where my thumb is called the apical meristem. That's actually where cell division and growth is taking place as the shoot grows. Now, one of the ways we can tell that the plant has enough water just by looking at it are the tendrils. You see the tendril right here? That tendril is out beyond the growing point, or the apical meristem. In fact, that one is almost too. That's how we know it's well hydrated and doing well. If the tendril were back behind it, then we know the plant would be kind of dealing with a little bit of water stress. So that's an easy way to see if the plant's got enough water. So this one's doing very well in spite of all the gopher problems it had. And one other thing I might do while I'm here, it's a small thing, but if you notice right here, something that we want to do as we go along is just kind of pop some of these old sucker shoots off and see that the trunk is growing nice and straight. So this one's doing well. Let's go have a look at the cordon vine, the one we laid out with a cordon, and we can kind of compare and see how it's doing also. So let's head over there.
Thanks. I'll give you that key for emergency.
So for our second vine here, we're just a couple of rows over from where we were with the one we just took a look at. This is the vine that actually we laid out in a cordon. This particular one too, I marked as I did the other so I could actually find it again, because once they start to grow, it's kind of hard to find them. So that's my indicator. This plant is very, very healthy, very vigorous. You can see there's quite a bit of fruit on it. There's a couple of things that we need to do, though, with a cordon system, and that's to open it up a little bit, because the plant will only ripen so much fruit. So what I'm going to do, and I'll do this throughout the plant, but if you can see, what we want to do is develop spurs on this piece of 1-year-old wood. But we need to unclutter it a little bit. So if you can see this particular shoot right here, I'm going to cut that off, much as it pains me to do it. And we can see that had some nice fruit on it too. But what we have in doing that is I have about 1 fist width between these spurs as they develop. And I'm going to do the same thing down here with this one and take that out. And that will allow, and I would go along and do that all the way through and allow that spacing between each of the spurs that will develop. And one other thing we'll do just before we go is begin to lay out some of the structure of the cordon for next year. Now, of course, we have the 1-year-old wood laid out in the first arm, but these 2 shoots right here, I'm going to eventually lay out as canes, and from there, I'll be able to develop the cordons from there. Well, that'll conclude episode number 12. Thanks very much for joining us here again at 1 Acre in the Napa Valley, and we'll see you again soon as we continue on with our series of episodes.